ये लोग आपका ध्यान भटकाते रहेंगे, लेकिन आपको अपने काम पर फोकस रखना है। कोई भी भ्रष्टाचारी बचना नहीं चाहिए।
They have categorically allowed the withdrawal of this petition, not passing any adverse order. I repeat, not passing any adverse order. If we get new causes of action on new persons or new reasons, it can be filed again. So clearly they have not entertained it at this stage.
सभी भ्रष्टाचारी एक मंच पर आने का प्रयास करते हैं, लेकिन ये जनता में भी इनका चेहरा बेनकाब हुआ है और कोर्ट में भी असलियत जानने का मौका मिला।
Hello everyone, you're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil. In a massive blow to at least 14 opposition parties, the Supreme Court today refused to entertain a plea alleging centre's arbitrary use of probe agencies and seeking guidelines for the future. A three-judge bench headed by Chief Justice Chandrachud with Justices P.S. Narasimha and J.B. Pardiwala said that political leaders cannot be put on a high pedestal and cannot be given any immunity. The Supreme Court also asserted that laying down guidelines without facts of a criminal case will be dangerous and that political leaders cannot claim a higher immunity than ordinary citizens. During the hearing, senior advocate Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who appeared on behalf of these political parties, argued that there is a 600% increase in CBI and ED cases, out of which 95% are against the opposition. And he went ahead to demand that if the statistics show a harassing effect, then the opposition is only seeking guidelines. To which the bench, headed by the CJI, asked Mr. Singhvi to come before the court in individual cases. And if at all there is a chilling effect on the opposition, then the answer lies in the political space and not in the courts. Sensing the court's disinclination, senior advocate Mr. Singhvi sought permission to withdraw the petition, which was granted, with no further solid action plan, clearly, which the opposition has now. So the question that we wish to ask on this debate, has probity trumped politics? Before moving ahead, here's what Mr. Singhvi, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, had said about all opposition parties coming together for a larger judicial coalition and raising their voice in what he said was case of harassment by central agencies. This he had said during the Congress meet in Raipur. Let's listen in.
हमको घोषणा करनी चाहिए, बाद के राजनीतिक गठबंधन बाद में बनेंगे, लेकिन कम से कम ये संवैधानिक और कानूनी गठबंधन अभी बन जाना चाहिए कि सामूहिक रूप से इस देश की जो भी प्रमुख 15 पार्टियां हैं वो एक साथ मिलकर उच्चतम न्यायालय में याचिका करेंगी कि अगर आप बराबरी का उपयोग या जो बराबरी का व्यवहार नहीं करते हैं इस एजेंसीज के विषय में, तो वो हमारे संवैधानिक मूल ढांचे का उल्लंघन है, बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर का उल्लंघन है। लेकिन ये कांग्रेस नहीं, सभी पार्टी को कांग्रेस के नेतृत्व में एक साथ मिलकर याचिका करनी चाहिए।
In my guests, Shahzad Poonawala representing the BJP, we have Krishank Mane from the BRS, Professor Manojit Mandal from TMC, Kapil Sankla, senior lawyer, Shantanu Sen, former joint director of CBI. I'm going to begin with you, Mr. Sen, and then I bring in the politicians. Was the idea of a judicial or constitutional coalition of political parties flawed from the word go?
Yes, it was. It was flawed. You go to the Supreme Court in a single case where you show that the Constitution has been hampered or Constitution has not been followed. Now, in this case, we are quite clear that any act of corruption in the higher bodies or those who have held high positions, may have been ministers, they may have been MPs. The law clearly says that their information of corruption against them will be verified by senior police officers. In the case of ministers and cabinet ministers and MPs, MLAs, Supreme Court judges, the circular issued on 3rd September 2021 clearly says they will be verified by the DGP or an equivalent officer, and only then the approval will be given by the union government or the appointing authority. It is very unfortunate that they did not take a single case and go up and show a violation of this circular. It is also true that the CBI has been blunted, because in the past, CBI has a right to investigate any act of corruption on its own, verify it, see the allegations, and go ahead with the investigation. But that right has been taken away from the CBI. The manner started way back in 1980s when the then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi issued a single directive saying any officer of the rank of Joint Secretary and above, and this includes ministers, cabinet ministers, Supreme Court judges, High Court judges, cannot be investigated without a clearance from the union government. This was quashed by the Supreme Court because it was restricted to the Joint Secretaries. Then Atal Bihari Vajpayee also passed the CVC Act, bringing this law into focus. That too was quashed. But in 26 July 2018, this government laid down that no public servant, whether he is a peon or whether he is a cabinet minister, can be inquired into till that allegation against the public servant is verified. And different ranks were supposed to verify.
So,
and then only. But listen, just 1 minute.
Yes, sir.
This SOP has come only after 3 years of the passing of the law. That allegation should have been made.
Fine enough. So, Kapil Sankla, do you think this petition could have perhaps worked if the opposition parties were indeed seeing some kind of misuse of agencies or quote-unquote selective use of agencies against opposition leaders had it been about individual cases? Because if you look at the observation or the discussion that happened in the court between Mr. Singhvi and the Honorable CJI, he says, can there be immunity? Ultimately, a political leader is basically a citizen. As citizens, we are all amenable to the same law. And then he goes on to talk about how, conviction also, that argument which has been made in the past by multiple opposition leaders, that there has been the conviction rate of agency is very down, to which Justice Chandrachud says, Mr. Singhvi, in India, conviction rate is generally dismal. So this petition would have worked had it been about individual understanding of misuse rather than this collective understanding of misuse.
Well, very beautifully put. And let me tell you like this, that the sum and substance of the argument was statistics based. And therefore, the Honorable Justice very rightly said this. And let me quote him because I don't think it could have been, more beautifully put. He said that the problem with the petition is that you're trying to extrapolate statistics into guidelines where the statistics only apply to politicians. And we cannot have guidelines exclusively for politicians. And that is the crux of the matter. What was being sought is some kind of extra protection to politicians, disconnected from what the law is, and the law is same for everyone, be as mighty or as poor you are. And the Honorable Supreme Court, the Chief Justice also rightly said that the political leaders stand absolutely on the same standing as the citizens of the country. They do not claim higher identity. How can there be a different set of procedures for them? So when the argument was based on the fact that statistics show that politicians are being, there's a witch hunt against these politicians, etc. The genesis of the argument was exclusionist. And this is what pointed out rightly by the Honorable Supreme Court at the word go, that you cannot have different yardsticks. As I've always said, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. What is good for the poor is also good for the rich. You cannot knock the doors of Supreme Court at every pretense. You cannot challenge the MM's order straight to the Honorable Supreme Court to say, listen, I have some special right because I am a national politician or whatever it is.
Yes.
So therefore, that equality that was reiterated by the Honorable Supreme Court is very, very important.
Yes.
Individual cases where factually it is shown that there is some misuse of law, the Honorable Supreme Court, of course, and the High Court,
yes,
of course.
because the Chief Justice, Kapil Sankla, has said, and I'm quoting him, that, we are not entertaining this. If you want, you can come back in individual cases where someone has been targeted. So this is about perception of being targeted. Krishank Mane, you were among those who approached the court. What next for the opposition leaders?
Well, one thing, Maria ji, rule of law applies to all. Applies to all, matlab all opposition parties, as well as it should also apply to the Bharatiya Janata Party. But when the debate of corruption or corruption charges come, the way opposition parties are witch hunted and Bharatiya Janata Party's elected representatives or their 40% commission ministers or MLAs are exempted, and we don't see one single arrest. Probably the BJP spokesperson may come up with some Karyakarta's name, but so and so time they've been arrested.
At least today, for all the petitions that have been filed, if there is a sense, Mr. Mane, please, one moment. Today, at least, there should be an acceptance that this was that this effort was flawed from the word go. If the BRS feels that the investigation that is going on against K. Kavita in the liquor scam is some kind of targeting, then they should approach separately, individually, rather than seek joint immunity of the entire opposition.
Well, Maria ji, coming straight to the point, couple of hours ago, Bharatiya Janata Party in its official handle has made a very, the below the belt politics, a cartoon of Kavita ji and Telangana Chief Minister with their charges of corruption, and Bharatiya Janata Party are already Bharat Justice Party. They give court judgment that we are tainted with corruption. Let the court do its job.
Exactly. But the court has done its job. Now what I'm saying, will the opposition... No, sir. Sir, because you're not answering my question. You're not answering my question.
I'm coming to it. Maria ji, I'm coming to it. But while I say this, the issue is not only about BJP's target on Telangana or Kavita ji alone. The same Modi's operandi is happening in numerous states. The same thing happened with Sanjay Raut.
No, but
the
then
same thing happens
but the court,
with
you have not been able to convince the court. Tell me now, Professor Manojit Mandal, what does it do to all this opposition unity which had come on these cases?
Two aspects to it. One is legal, the other is political. The political fight will continue. And on the legal frontier, I entirely agree with the Chief Justice Honorable Chief Justice of India when he said that the politician should not have any special immunity. I think the same should apply to Mr. Shubhendu Adhikari as well. But he has been given this kind of immunity by the High Court of Calcutta, by the Justice Rajashekhar Mantha, that no FIR can be registered against Mr. Shubhendu Adhikari. This is a judgment.
Then what is stopping the TMC? What is stopping the TMC in challenging that order in the higher court?
The TMC definitely has challenged the order in the higher court. I do not know what has happened to that particular case, but I appeal to the Honorable Chief Justice to look into these matters as well.
Okay.
That even in anticipation, a judgment of this nature can be delivered by a subordinate court, that no FIR, even if kill someone, that no FIR can be filed without the permission of the court. So he has given this kind of immunity in this country. And there lies the question of fight against the corruption and the BJP. This person is again a particular classic case. The moment he switched sides to BJP, and there is a case against him under the direction of the Supreme Court. Please don't tell me that I should go to Supreme Court to file the FIR against Mr. Shubhendu Adhikari. Okay. Because the FIR is filed under the direction of the Supreme
it looks
Court.
like
but no investigation is happening
as far as
against
opposition is concerned,
BJP.
This is a rallying point, and despite this obvious setback from the Supreme Court, they will be, saying that it's all right and that there has been no misuse of agencies.
Since you used the word politically loaded word rallying point, I would just wonder if you do another debate after this on how much rallying TRS wants to do for Congress and how many seats it wants to give it in Telangana or how many seats TMC wants to give to Congress in Bengal, you'll understand how much of a rallying point it is and how much of a crying point it is. And let me tell you, this is not a constitutional coalition. It is a coalition of losers and a coalition of corrupt and commission courts. Please, first of all, Maria, all of these cases are tested at the anvil of the court. In the last 9 years, all of these people with supreme legal battery of lawyers haven't got one case, one court order, one court observation saying that the agencies are being misused like a caged parrot like it was done in 2013. Not one instance. Secondly, all of these cases, let's see the TMC case, for instance. The SSC case started when 8 CBI probes were ordered by the High Court. The Lalu Prasad case started when Congress was in power, when BJP was not in power. It was actually the opposition parties and he got convicted for the first time in 2013. By the way, he's been convicted 4 times. Is he convicted? Is it vendetta politics or is it corruption by him? Thirdly, Sonia Gandhi's case started when in 2012 a trial court started proceedings against her and the Supreme Court also refused to give her any relief. So what has the agencies got to do? Anything? Nonetheless, these people went and tried their luck in front of the court and the court has told them 2-3 things. One, that you can't have immunity just because you abuse the BJP from acts of corruption. 2, you can't say that you're a special privileged class because earlier, Maria, ED used to mean entitlement of diners to loot and CBI used to mean cage bird of India. Use it as per convenience for political objectives. You can't have a special class, even though Pramod Tiwari may advocate a special law for the Gandhis. And thirdly, what is very clear is that why are you fighting your political battles in a court of law? If you genuinely think it's vendetta, prove it in a court of law in an individual case or go to the people.
Okay, let's look at some cases. Okay, one moment. Now that none of these leaders have got any relief from the courts, then why blame on agencies? That means the courts find prima facie evidence that the investigation must continue. Manojit Mandal, that is one moment.
Absolutely
in
wrong.
the case of Aam Aadmi Party, what is happening there?
Absolutely wrong in case of Shraddha. You do not have the data in front
I'm
of you.
talking about Aam Aadmi Party.
Doesn't matter. Everyone is targeted in the opposition. Everyone. But
why hasn't Satyendra Jain got bail?
TMC is the
Why isn't Manish Sisodia getting bail?
I'll tell you.
Why is there no quashing of the FIR and the cases against them?
What is your problem? You are giving uninterrupted time to your friend Sajid Poonawala.
No, that's not fair. There is no interruption or uninterrupted time. Go ahead.
So I'm giving you the data. Look at the case, Shraddha case. 2,500 crores ghotala, people used to say. It's been continuing since 2013. CBI has taken over in 2014. Madan Mitra, one of the ministers, a very close aide of Ms. Mamata Banerjee, was arrested, was in jail for 9 months. No conviction till date. 10 years have passed. What does it suggest? Courts are doing their job. Investigation agencies are doing their job. No, it is just a political tool to oppress and to scare. Had there been any case against Mr. Madan Mitra by now, 10 years, there should have been some conviction, at least some definite charges by the court, not by the police, not by the CBI. There are no charges framed by the court till now. What are you talking about? Narda case, 6 years, 2017, directed by CBI, directed by Supreme Court for CBI investigation. No charges framed by the court of law. 3 persons were taken over and they were in jail in the wee hour of 2020.
Since you asked specific question about Narda and Sharda, Shehzad Poonawala respond to this.
Misuse of agents.
Okay, just specifically on Narda and Sharda, please, and then we move on. Yes.
Maria, also it must be factored in that the panel is loaded 1 versus 3 and then there is a legal expert from the Supreme Court. So let's also factor that in. Also, let me come to the point that let's take one case for example. Lalu Prasad has been convicted 4 times. The Trinamool Congress spokesperson Mandalji, is Lalu corrupt, yes or no?
So what kind of
is Lalu Prasad Yadav corrupt, yes or no?
Is Hemanta Biswa Sharma corrupt or not?
No, he is not corrupt.
Or not?
No, he is not corrupt. No, he is not corrupt. No, he is not corrupt. Now, is Lalu Prasad Yadav corrupt, yes or no?
Chautalas are convicted.
Now you understand, Maria, may I complete?
Chautalas are corrupted not.
Maria, may I complete?
Okay, Shehzad, please. Shehzad, please.
What are you
Maria, may I complete?
Yes.
Maria, may I complete?
Go ahead.
Maria, may I complete?
Yes.
Your PCR can do the needful.
Yes,
may
please,
I complete?
go
I don't
ahead.
interrupt anybody. I don't interrupt anybody. Look, Maria, forget about courts framing charges, not framing charges. When a man has been convicted by a court, these people are so beholden to Lalu Prasad Yadav, they can't even say Lalu is corrupt. So how do you expect them to say even a shred of truth? You know, one of the TMC leaders, Kirti Azad, said that India is going to be poorer than Bangladesh. He had to be fact-checked. So don't believe their facts on just ad hominem basis. I think there's a longer debate, then we can discuss about all these cases in detail. But I'll ask you another question. ED has taken action on Satyendra and Manish Sisodia. Congress party has said it's welcome. If it was vendetta, why did Congress party, the newfound friend of TMC, say it's a welcome move? मतलब अपने पे हो तो अत्याचार, दूसरे पे हो तो चमत्कार. Good corruption in the case of Satyendra Jain, bad corruption if you catch Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi. ये क्या चल रहा है? This kind of double standards can't be done. Secondly,
can I respond to him? Just
yeah,
10
no,
seconds?
no, Krishank Mane will speak. Mr. Mane will speak. Yes.
Is Lalu corrupt?
There are numerous BJP ministers from Gujarat to Karnataka who have been convicted. Have you removed them? Were they immediately disqualified also? Ministers, MLAs. This preaching of Bharatiya Janata Party it's nice to point out only at opposition leaders, but apna gireban jhaklo.
Is Lalu corrupt? Yes or no?
And please name one name. Please name
one name. Is Lalu corrupt? Yes or no?
Please name one name of BJP leader who was jailed, who is in jail. But you cannot name even one name. You will
I can name 10 names. Give me an opportunity. I'll name 10 names.
What we are saying is,
Maria.
We have the gut. Maria ji, I'll tell you one thing. We have
Give
the
me
gut.
An opportunity.
We have the gut to
but why must I name BJP leaders who are not convicted? You tell me, is Lalu Prasad Yadav convicted? Is he corrupt? Yes or no? Krishank Mane. Krishank Mane, is Lalu Prasad convicted? Is he corrupt? Yes or no?
I'm not spokesperson of the RJD. But I'm asking you a question of BJP.
You don't need to be from the RJD. He is convicted by a court. Is he not convicted by a court 4 times?
You want an answer? You want an answer? You should have some.
Is he convicted? Yes or no?
See,
it's a yes or no question. Is he corrupt or no? Is he corrupt or no?
Are you the court to ask me yes or no? Are you Bharatiya Justice Party?
He has been convicted by a court.
Okay, you're not getting. No. The problem is that this argument is going in the direction that I do not want it to go. I want to bring in the experts now. No, I'll bring in the experts now.
I just need an answer.
Okay.
Where is an expert? You don't have an expert. You have a BJP spokesperson who thinks he's running a court. He was running a trial.
Okay, Krishank Mane, quickly respond. Quickly respond. Don't. Yes.
Krishank Mane, if I needed your certificates, I don't need your certificate,
You are a party of fake
I don't need your certificate.
You are a party of fake certificates from your supreme leader to your MPs.
Okay. Kapil Sankla and Shantanu Sen now.
I'm sorry, Shehzad.
Okay. Kapil Sankla and Shantanu Sen now. Kapil Sankla,
yes.
Obviously in this, political, tutu meme, we did expect it to not have a sensible argument right now. But my larger question is that what happens to this entire argument that has been built by opposition about misuse of agencies? And statistically speaking, that there has been a surge in CBI and ED against opposition. That is what Mr. Singhvi said.
Well, as far as their argument is concerned, there's a short answer. The statistics are created by statisticians to prove their own point. So, I mean, as far as statistics are concerned, they go nowhere. The question here is this. Has there been an individual case where there has been a specific instance of misuse of law? If that is not the case, then everything else is hogwash. And how do you know that there is no specific instance? Because during the arguments on charge, if the court says that no charges are made out, then is the case where you say that, there was a misuse, the FIR was a lot of hogwash, there was a lot of smoke and no fire. But if the court says that there is some merit in it and says that the trial will go on and the accused cannot get a quashing from the High Court, then there is some merit in the investigation. And that is the test. And that is the check and the balance in our democracy. And you cannot and you should not challenge that.
Okay.
Somebody here is questioning the orders of the High Court of Calcutta without going to the Honorable Supreme Court, making it into a political argument, trying to belittle the judicial process.
Okay.
The Honorable Chief Justice also said this very shortly, that if you say that the space for opposition has shrunk, that is the remedy is in the political space, not in the court.
Yes. So
and what is in the court they do not want to
I think that's an important point that you have made, from that quote that was given. When you say that space for opposition has shrunk, the remedy is in that space, the political space, not the court. That brings me to the final word to former CBI officer Shantanu Sen. Shantanu Sen, CBI as an agency has been called a caged parrot during the UPA. Right now, there is this perception of misuse of the agency. What should the agency in itself do to really protect itself from these kind of allegations?
You will please recall that CBI was weighed very highly once upon a time. Why was that? Why was that? Just go back to history. There was a time when CBI had a right to investigate cases of corruption. Now, as long as CBI was choosing its investigation, these charges were not made. Let us be practical. When the CBI was blunted by Rajiv Gandhi first, then others, and now by the 6th July 2018 order, CBI is acting and investigating under orders of the authorities. And here lies the question. When CBI takes up cases which CBI does not initiate itself, there is a charge that CBI is acting at the behest of the ruling power. The ruling power is not the BJP. The ruling power is the government. Government is taking a decision to investigate. Now, as long as that investigation, as somebody rightly said, is accepted by the court, the investigation will continue. The trouble is, when the investigation is continuing and there is no conviction yet, the BJP keeps on saying they are corrupt. This is wrong. They are not corrupt till they are convicted. We today had cases, very important cases of two crimes, calamitous crimes in UP and Rajasthan. In both the cases, the High Court has let them off.
All right.
So none of them is guilty.
Okay, Shehzad, since I agree it was 1 versus 2, just a quick word from you. Please go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, Maria, and I hope I won't be interrupted. Some people who served as joint directors when the CBI was being deinstitutionalized never spoke up when they served their tenure. In fact, went on to become OSDs to LG of Delhi. That's another point. I don't want to get into that, but there are...
No personal attack, Shehzad. That's unfair.
No, Maria, 1 second.
No personal attacks, please.
Maria, 1 second. Why? I will have the right to respond. No, 1 second, Maria. If you make lie claims, you make false claims, that is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. Maria, do not unleash an attack on me. Let me make my comments. If you are strong enough, why can't you hear the comments? You lie on national television. He said this lies even before. Maria, you have to give me an opportunity. Maria, this is unfair.
Okay, go ahead, Shehzad. Make your point. Shehzad, make your point quickly. Yes, specific response. Specific response, please. Yes.
Specifically.
Yeah.
By the way, Maria, does this man know that the prima facie order of the court has come against Satyendra Jain? Does he know that his prima facie order has come against Manish Sisodia? Who is he to say that courts have not held people prima facie guilty? We are not dancing around on the basis of an allegation. And on the basis of an allegation, they call our entire government 40% corruption. That time, Shantanu Sen doesn't open his mouth.
All right. Shehzad Poonawalla, Krishank Pandey, Professor Manojit Mandal, Shantanu Sen and Kapil Sankla, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Moving on to the upcoming Karnataka